Hello, hello, hello. How you guys doing? We're back. We're here. We're going to be talking about Iran. We're going to be talking about Iran. Iran is back. They're bombing the hell out of Israel. As we basically, the information they're giving us, that's all we could go by. You know, we can't go by anything else. So basically, let's read what's going on here. It says that Israel military said it had attacked 6 airports in western, central, and central Iran. This is 4 days ago. Okay. This is let's see. This is all old news. They're not putting anything out here for us to read concerning I looked at that date and I was like, wait a minute. So here we go. 7 hours ago. Israeli attacks kill 71 people, including 8 seekers across Gaza. Okay, that's Gaza. I'm trying to see what. So, Israel is they're still attacking Iran. I mean Gaza. Okay, so basically they're saying that they're in ceasefire right now, June 26, 2025, 3:01 p.m. Ceasefire in Iran gives rise to new calls for a deal to end Gaza war. Arab leaders and Israel hostage families are making a renewed push this week for a deal to end the war in Gaza Strip, using Israel's successful strikes on Iran, as well as ceasefire brokered by the United States and Qatar, to make this the case that Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has enough political capital to bring the grueling 20-month conflict to a close. Now remember, Netanyahu fled to Greece, or Greek. So basically, he basically fled to Cyprus. He went to Cyprus. He fled to Cyprus. I apologize. He fled to Cyprus, and then he fled to Greece. That's what they said. They said he fled. Well, I mean, come on, guys. Netanyahu flees to Cyprus. Just like they said, Zelensky's in Florida. Claims regarding Benjamin Netanyahu, the current Prime Minister of real estate, fleeing to Cyprus are demonstrably false. They said it's false. He was. See, they could say that's false because he did go back to see. Right now, he's back in Israel 2 or 3 days ago. 2 days ago, or maybe a day and a half ago, he just went back to Israel and to see all the damage that was done. So he might have just went back and touched down and then came back. Went back to Cyprus. It's basically what I'm thinking. Let's see what's going on here.
Does it make sense that all the highly enriched uranium in the
Tehran now, where people are cleaning up and picking up the pieces, trying to move on and getting their business back in order. Fred Pleitkin, CNN, Tehran.
On nuclear facilities, but this is what we know. The US president is doubling down then on his insistence that Iran's key nuclear sites are being destroyed. At a NATO summit in The Hague today, he disputed an early report from his own intelligence community that said Iran's nuclear program was only set back by months, not years. Mr. Trump calls that report inconclusive. And he said, quote, "We've spoken to people who've seen the site." Israel's Atomic Energy Commission now says the US strike on Fordow destroyed the site's critical infrastructure, and Iran's foreign ministry acknowledges its nuclear sites were badly damaged. And then, just a few moments ago, the US Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, said new intel confirms what Mr. Trump has stated. Iran's nuclear facilities have been destroyed and would take years to rebuild. Gabbard told Congress earlier this year that Iran was not trying to build a bomb. Now, there's been a lot of speculation that Iran may have moved its highly enriched uranium stockpiles before the US strikes. Listen to what Mr. Trump had to say about that today.
I think we hit them so hard and so fast they didn't get to move. And if you know about that material, it's very hard and very dangerous to move. It's called, in many people they call it dust, but it's very, very heavy. It's very, very hard to move. And they were way down, you know, they're 30 stories down. They're literally 30, 35 stories down underground. Oh yeah, we think it's covered with granite, concrete, and steel.
Jeff Selney in Washington, D.C. for us. Yesterday, Jeff, we were talking about this initial intelligence report. We now seem to have another one from Gabbard. Can you bring it together for us? What do we know?
Max, one thing is clear. Obviously, the White House and the administration is doing everything they can.
See, he knows how to wear a suit. You're only supposed to wear, when you wear shirts, dress shirts with stripes and designs, you always wear a plain suit. You know, a lot of people, they'll wear both designing shirts and then a striped suit.
Looking at their own intelligence assessments as well as looking to Israel's too. Again, it's very unclear if that is true, but he's become obsessed with the finding information and
They're saying that that those bombs didn't do the damage that it's supposed to do, especially with underground. Now above ground it did, but underground they're saying that it's a little sketchy. It really didn't do a lot of damage.
Finding details to confirm his strike and confirm the obliteration, and also at the same time sort of confounding and mixing everything together, saying that anyone who would raise a question about the intelligence is criticizing the American military, the pilots and whatnot who flew the mission, which of course is absurd. It was actually quite an extraordinary mission in terms of the secrecy and the deception.
4 planes got shot down.
One
4 U.S. planes got shot
Pacific
down.
And the others under the dark of nights around the Atlantic and the Mediterranean. But going forward here, I think one thing is clear. The president is trying to chalk this up as a victory. As he left the NATO summit, now he's flying back to Washington as we speak. He clearly was doing a bit of a victory lap. The question, is it premature? We don't know the answer to that, but he does say that the U.S. and Iran will have some level of talks next week on the nuclear program. No details about that, at what level those talks will be. But interestingly, for a president who has long said that the biggest danger is Iran getting a nuclear weapon, he said now there's no agreement that would need to be signed. Basically, a gentleman's agreement would be enough, that they would not complete their...
What are we talking about here?
It is a great question. I mean, what is there to talk about if there is no specific deal on the...
Now, Iran has no reason not to build a nuclear weapon. They could just go on and build right now because as they've seen is that they can't be stopped. Is this all you got, U.S.? No, U.S. got more. They got a lot of stuff going on in the military industry. And Iran don't want that. So, but they survived. So they got the green light to go ahead. Russia's going to be like, just start building nuclear weapons. You know, the same with China and North Korea. They're like, welcome to the club. But I believe Iran already has nuclear weapons, like I said, because Iran and Germany were the first to create nuclear weapons.
The agenda of not enriching uranium or not rebuilding this entire episode.
Okay, Jeff, thank you for that. NATO allies then
Yeah, let's see. We're done with that one. What's going on here? Holy shamoly. Wow.
لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر
Oh shit. So you just chilling. Oh. What was that? You're just at home just chilling. And you're just hearing all the strikes. That's all I seen is. Oh.
2025 IRS tax forgiveness now.
This big guy thought he was tough.
You hit me one more time. Now put it on, please. Get up. Get up, people. You feel like that. Chill. Damn.
Hey. Look. Hey.
Hey, what's
Everyone
that?
was puzzled by this guy's.
What happened to Iran? Oh.
Why are new Porsche headlights getting stolen?
Shalom. This is my house now. It was promised to me 2,000 years ago.
Get the fuck out of here.
Why are new Porsche headlights getting...
What?
Why are new Porsche headlights getting stolen overnight? Real
What?
reason is way more illegal than anyone thought. Let me explain. Thieves have been ripping headlights out of Porsche models in seconds. It's been happening for years. Police at first thought it was just about stealing high-end parts to flip for cash. And with headlights worth thousands on the resale market, it made sense. But that's when things started to get strange. Reports started coming in linking them to illegal drug farms. Turns out, Porsche headlights run a lot cooler than traditional grow lights. That makes them perfect for keeping plants alive, and makes it more difficult for police to spot the farms using thermal heat cameras. Why are new Porsche headlights getting stolen overnight? Real reason is way more
Oh my
illegal than
god,
anyone
we're learning
thought.
every day.
Thieves have been ripping...
In this attack by Iranian forces on the city of Haifa in Israel, Fatah-1 missiles equipped with hypersonic maneuvering warheads were used. These warheads are extremely fast and maneuverable in their terminal phase, making interception nearly impossible. In the video, we can see the speed difference between conventional ballistic missile and the hypersonic ones, with the latter producing a noticeable shockwave effect on impact. A refinery and other critical infrastructure were targeted within the city. In this attack by Iranian forces on the city of Haifa in Israel, Fatah...
Antifa. Oh man, they busted his leg. That's all.
Are you a gang member?
No. The country of
At 2 a.m. on June 21st, 6 B-2 bombers took off from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. Everyone assumed that they were heading to strike Iran, but in reality, these were just decoys. 5 hours later, 7 B-2 bombers took off again, but this time heading east. Each B-2 carried two 30,000-pound GBU-57 bunker busters, requiring them to refuel frequently. They met with first aerial tankers over Michigan. Then, in the middle
Only
of
had
Japan,
two.
a final refueling took place off the coast of Turkey before entering the Iranian airspace.
Turkey.
Escorted by F-22s and F-35s, 3 bombers headed for the Fordo nuclear facility, buried 330 feet underground, while the other 4 bombers targeted the Natanz nuclear facility. To ensure the full destruction of Iran's nuclear program, all 7 B-2s unloaded their full payload, 14 GBU-57s. At the same time, a U.S. submarine lurking in the North Arabian Sea unleashed a barrage of missiles, wiping out the Esfahan nuclear sites. In just 25 minutes, the U.S. destroyed what took Iran 20 years to build. With their mission complete, the B-2s turned back, refueled along the same hidden path, and returned to Missouri, finishing a 37-hour non-stop strike that Iran never saw coming. Subscribe for more. At 2 a.m. on June 21st, 6 B-2 bombers took off from Whiteman Air Force.
The country of Israel is a state.
At 2 a.m. on June.
Oh no. Did the oil? Oh, he got oil on himself. Oh, I don't want to see that.
If you're in the mood to feel better than everyone else tonight, then my...
Hey, what are you doing?
Dude, I put...
When I first... Like when I was in Iraq and stuff, we take off in Saudi Arabia, fly an hour up, meet a tanker, go fly a 5-hour mission, come back to the tanker, get more gas, go out and fly for another couple hours, and then go back to the base. How long can that fly for? You know, I don't know. It obviously depends on how hard you got the gas pedal down. Right. I think the F-16, if we stayed in full afterburner for, 5 minutes, you probably run out of gas. 5 minutes.
Damn.
Or it could be quicker than that. Now the goal is endurance. Stop.
Oh shit. Dude, where's my Iran videos? Why are you changing everything on me when I'm on?
What if Iran got really mad and nuked the United States? It would begin with one missile launched from deep inside Iran, flying straight for Washington, D.C.
Come on, get the hell out of here.
Right now it's 6:02. You're taking a live look inside the city of Jerusalem. In the last 6 hours, Iran says it launched as many as 40 missiles in northern and central Israel. The nation's health ministry says as many as 80 people were hurt. The attack came just hours after the United States bombed 3 nuclear sites in Iran. Natanz and Fordo are uranium enrichment sites, and Esfahan is a facility running nuclear reactors and employing thousands.
I apologize, guys. They basically changed my whole script. What happened here? It looked like, what?
Here we go again. Iranian accounts are again posting this fake image saying that they took down a B-2 bomber that conducted the strike on Iranian nuclear facilities. In reality, this is just not true. You see, B-2 bombers fly at 50,000 feet. If they fall to the ground, the bomber is not going to remain intact how it is in the picture. On top of it, it's very, very heavy. So if something falls down, it's not just going to sit on the ground like this. This is clearly AI. The funniest part of all this is someone under the post asked, "Is this true?" And the AI account goes, "Yes, it's true." Subscribe for more.
Algeria, Israel, Germany, Brazil, Greece, United Kingdom, Italy has an Air Force, Saudi Arabia, what? North Korea, what? No, I don't know about France, Turkey. What kind of plane? What? South Korea. Pakistan. India. China. Russia. Who's this? That's because they build them.
Ronald Reagan roasts Joe Biden, and it's...
Hey, where? Come on, man. Why is it doing this?
Is this progress or just plain stupidity?
Why are you guys doing this to me? Let's go here. This was 18 hours ago. Wow, look at them dropping. So you're just at home chilling and look at what's going on. So it's just missiles coming in continuously. Say you're here in the city. Just picture yourself in the city. And all you're seeing is red fluorescent unidentified objects in the air, and they're hidden like this. Boom, you see fire here. Boom, you see fire there. Oh, so that stuff was burning forever. They must have hit a nice, a good spot. I think they knew what was down there. Damn, it's been burning for days. Jeez. Oh, all of them are gonna hit. Massive explosion as missiles hit Israel's So they're bombing in the daytime, bombing at night.
Have been fired from Iran toward Israel this morning or not, as we sort through that information to try to determine what exactly happened. That really hits home the point, Becky, of just how critical a moment we are in right now and how critical the coming hours are ahead to see if the ceasefire can in fact hold. It is so critical that President Trump has taken it upon himself to appeal to both sides to hold up their end of the deal. A short time ago, the president posting this on his Truth Social social media platform, quote, "The ceasefire is now in effect. Please do not violate it." Signed, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. This comes as we're getting a battle over the messaging over the ceasefire, specifically messaging as to who is going to get the final credit for brokering the ceasefire deal if it in fact holds. President Trump on Monday evening, late, posted this on social media, claiming that Israel and Iran came to him first, asking him to broker a deal. This is what he said, quote, "Israel and Iran came to me almost simultaneously and said peace. I knew the time was now. The world and the Middle East are the real winners. Both nations will see tremendous love, peace, and prosperity in their futures." That is the message from Washington. There is a very different message from Tehran this morning, from Iranian state media and a news anchor there who said, quote, In a begging-like manner of urging, Trump requested the initiation of a ceasefire in the imposed Zionist enemy war against our country. So Tehran claiming that Trump begged them for a ceasefire. Donald Trump claiming that Israel and Iran came to him asking for a ceasefire. In the middle of this, CNN has some very critical reporting from our colleagues Kylie Atwood, Jennifer Hansler, Elena Treen, Jeff Zeleny, and Zachary Cohen. They are reporting that behind the scenes, Donald Trump's national security team and his diplomatic team worked furiously in those critical hours after Iran launched an airstrike against that U.S. base in Qatar, that this team worked furiously behind the scenes to try to broker a ceasefire deal. According to our sources, President Trump himself communicated directly with Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, and he communicated directly with the Emir of Qatar, Emir Tamim bin Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani. At the same time, J.D. Vance, the Vice President, Secretary of State, and National Security Advisor Marco Rubio, and Middle East Envoy Steve Witkoff, they were the ones communicating directly with the Iranian side through indirect and direct channels there. So a lot of diplomatic flourishing going on in those hours after Iran launched those missile attacks on the U.S. base in Qatar. Again, the crucial hours coming, Becky. We are in such an important period right now to see if the ceasefire does indeed hold. We're watching it very closely, of course, here in Washington.
Brian, very briefly, Israel touting its remarkable success, saying that it has effectively fulfilled its goals in its attacks on Iran.
Yes.
And many around this region and within Israel suggesting that it should now take a break, let Mossad, the Air Force, the Public Front, take a breather, step back. We have learned that that is not necessarily Benjamin Netanyahu's style. He has not necessarily been looking for off-ramps or political solutions. And that I hear time and time again in the region where I am. How much influence does Donald Trump have over the Israeli Prime Minister at this point? Is it clear?
I don't think it is very clear, Becky, because as you remember, at the beginning of the Israel-Iran conflict, some 13 or 14 days ago, well, it began about 12 days ago, but about 13, 14 days ago, you had President Trump in Washington saying, I don't want the Israelis to do this. He did not want them to launch this series of attacks on Iran and on their military facilities. They did it anyway. The Israeli Prime Minister said he did not have to check with Washington for doing that. But then, of course, as this progressed along, Donald Trump kind of came in line and, of course, made that critical decision on Saturday to launch those bombs against Iranian nuclear sites. So it is not clear at all that Donald Trump has the kind of influence over Prime Minister Netanyahu that he might want to have. This is a crucial period, too. If people are going to take a break, this is going to be crucial in actually doing the real assessments that are going to be needed to figure out just how much of Iran's nuclear program was damaged in the Israeli strikes and in the U.S. strikes. This is a critical period. They need a little bit of time off, actually, from these strikes to do some real intelligence assessment, because that could take weeks, Becky.
It's true. It's true.
Brian, it's good to have you. Thank you.
They need to come with a solution, because right now Iran is not following that ceasefire. They're still bombing Israel as we speak right now, but they're censoring everything. Everybody that's been spending the time talking about this incident, they're censoring their channels. They're censoring their videos.
Just days ago, something massive went down, and it's still unfolding. Nearly 2,000 Israeli fighter jets took off together, fully armed and ready to hit over 100 high-value targets across Iran. This wasn't a drill. It's one of the most complex and bold operations that the Israeli Air Force has ever pulled off, and it's not over yet. Our jets flew more than 2,000 kilometers into hostile airspace, hitting nuclear facilities in Isfahan, missile sites in Natanz, and even targets in the heart of Tehran. Over 70 Israeli Air Force jets were in Tehran's skies for hours, and not one was taken down. Iran's defenses didn't even come close. The hits were precise, the message was loud, and the damage huge. Critical parts of Iran's nuclear program are gone. Senior Revolutionary Guards commanders gone. And the world is watching as Israel, a tiny country with everything to lose, shows again what it means to fight back. Smart, fast, and with zero hesitation. The Israeli Air Force is one of the best in the world. Over 300 fighter jets, F-15s, F-16s, and the F-35s, a near stealth fleet flown by pilots trained to perfection. These aren't just warriors, they're tacticians. From Entebbe to Usirak to now, they've made history before, and they're doing it again. And while the headlines show explosives and targets, what's happening behind the scenes is just as powerful. A mix of elite strategy, top-tier tech, and the kind of courage that you only find when everything's on the line. Today, we're going to break it down, the brilliance of the Israeli Air Force, the tactics, the aircrafts, and the cutting-edge systems that keep...
Okay, alright, we gotta be careful when we watch stuff like this. You know, he might be telling some truth though, but we don't know. This is sometimes could be propaganda. Yeah, so basically, as we see, we're being censored. We don't know what's going on right now. We're just looking at what you see is what I see. See, Iran launches fresh attack on Israel right now. But Trump is out here saying ceasefire, but everybody's like, what are you talking about? Israel's still getting bombed. This is Tel Aviv. Next, we're gonna look at the map next.
יש לנו פה שני רכבים שנפגעו, כוחות של קריית גת כיבוי נותנים מענה לכיבוי הרכבים. יש לנו פה פגיעה בבית כנסת, פגיעה בבתי קרקע, כוחות של קב"א קריית גת נותנים מענה לכיבוי עכשיו של שני רכבים בוערים ככל הנראה כתוצאה מרסס. יש לנו פה פגיעה במבנה כמו שאתם רואים, כוחות מתחילים גם בסריקה למציאת לכודים, פצועים, המון כוחות נמצאים במקום.
That noise? This is morning time. It's fireworks display. Oh, that's crazy how that looks. Crazy out here, man. Guess if you were living there and this was going on.
למציאת לכודים, פצועים, המון כוחות נמצאים במקום.
He already showed this. That one dodged it. Did you see that still dodge it? Oh wow. Ooh. More going on here. They just showed that. They're showing it over and over again. That's the same stuff. Stop on here. They showed the same clip twice.
At the Pentagon, as we mentioned, where Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth was railing against the news media for deigning to report on the existence of an early preliminary U.S. assessment on the U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities. We also heard a far more serious and sober presentation by the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin Kane. Though General Kane conceded it was not his job to do damage assessments, it was the job of the intelligence community. He did present, with visuals, some detailed information about the strike.
The cap was forcibly removed by the first weapon, and the main shaft was uncovered. All 6 weapons at each vent at Fordo went exactly where they were intended to go. We know that the trailing jets saw the first weapons function, and the pilots stated, quote, "This was the brightest explosion that I've ever seen. It literally looked like daylight."
Damn. Let's get more in-depth analysis on this from retired U.S. Army Brigadier General Stephen Anderson, who served in Iraq supporting Operation Iraqi Freedom. General Anderson, thanks for joining us. So we heard General Kane there. He showed a test video of what a bunker buster does. How does that test video compare to what you think actually happened?
Well, let's look at the test video, and you'll see down here, you can see that the penetrator enters the ground about here, and then it has impact in this area down here. Okay? That's great. That's beautiful. A big explosion, everything you wanted to see. However, what you fail to see is that it's only about 10 or 12 feet here, you know, and we're talking about a target set that's 300 feet deep. So you're showing a video.
So all the way down here, theoretically.
Absolutely, way down. And so why? My question is, why don't they have a test video that shows more accurately of what the mission set really was. And to me, it's very misleading to show a video like this with a big explosion. We already knew it was going to be a big explosion. But this, the point of the mop is to penetrate. This only penetrates a few feet. We need to get a penetrator that can go 300 feet, and he didn't show that.
Yeah, and we should note that at no point is anybody questioning how well the pilots performed here. They hit their targets excellently. And also, this is the first time this has been used, right? A bunker buster. It's relatively new technology.
This is new technology. This has been in development for about 15 years. But one would think that they would do a better job of getting a video that could demonstrate what the capabilities of the mop are.
Let's take a look at the other graphic shown at today's press conference, which shows the ventilation shafts at the Fordo site. What does this show? What does this not show?
Well, this is a very simplified diagram, and it bothers me because there's no legend. It doesn't show, again, we're trying to go 300 feet. It doesn't show anything like that. It's also showing the ventilation shafts to be very straight, very linear. My experience in working in Korea and then Cheyenne Mountain and Raven Rock up in Maryland, these shafts are not perpendicular to the earth. They move, they turn, they twist, and it's very difficult. So to assume that we could bring some kind of mop to go straight down the ventilation shaft all the way to the bottom is pretty ludicrous in my mind.
So you think that it's questionable whether Absolutely. Or not I mean, we heard that the pilots dropped the bombs and they went right down the shaft, and you don't doubt that they went into the shaft, but we don't know if it was a completely vertical line.
Absolutely, Jake, that's the point. And the other point is that the General King talked about hitting these with caps, with concrete caps, okay? The point of a concrete cap is not only to seal the structure and seal the cave, but also to provide pre-detonation so that the bombs detonate too early, so they can't penetrate because we already know, General Kane admitted that there were multiple GBUs that were used on the caps. And that's very important. Now, I want to bring up the example of when we had in Iraq, we used to use these pre-detonation facilities right here. We used to put covers on all of our DFACs, all of our critical infrastructure like this. The intent was to pre-detonate, to make the bomb go off earlier than it needs to go. And that's what they were trying to do. The other thing that would tell me about those caps is they knew that we were going to hit them. That's why they put the caps there. What other things did they do to mitigate the effect of the GBUs?
What other fortifications that we don't know about?
Absolutely.
And Secretary Hegseth said he was not aware of any intelligence suggesting that any enriched uranium was taken from these three sites before the strike.
He's not watching the same media that the rest of us are. I mean, there is open source reporting that on Wednesday, perhaps 15 trucks left Isfahan loaded for bear.
One of the three sites.
Absolutely, one of the three sites. That's where the highly enriched uranium was. And we already know it's easy to transport. It was only 400 kilograms, so he could fit it in the back of a van. And by the way, Jake, I mean, Iran is a huge country, 2.5 times the size of Texas. There are a million places where we could have hidden that highly enriched uranium, and that's really a problem. We got to find that stuff.
All right, fascinating stuff. Brigadier General Steve Anderson, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Let's talk now with Republican Senator Eric Schmitt of the great state of Missouri, which is home to Whiteman Air Base, where the B-2 bombers that participated in last weekend's strikes on Iran are headquartered, and Senator Schmitt is additionally is on the Senate Armed Services Committee. Senator, what can you tell us about the Iran briefing on Capitol Hill this afternoon?
Yeah, I think it corroborated at this point a lot of the open sourcing out there that the nuclear facilities were totally destroyed. You can use the word obliterated. They have no capabilities. They have no capabilities, and we're talking about years. So that is was a good takeaway from the meeting. I think everybody was relieved to hear that. Of course, the general and others went through the plans in great detail, and there were a lot of questions that were asked, good questions that should be asked. But I think it's clear that this was a very successful mission. The pilots that left Whiteman really in an unprecedented move, Jake, with the subterfuge of a couple going to Guam and the others headed east, were able to drop about 420,000 pounds of bunker-busting bombs on something the size of a desk to complete their mission. So they should be congratulated. And I also think it's important, too, that President Trump, immediately after this, pivoted to peace, and I think that's the next stage of all this is further diplomacy. And I know for me, that was very important with this sort of new era of American realism foreign policy, as opposed to us getting pulled into, a long-standing forever war in the Middle East.
Yeah, let's hope it stays that way. It sounds like an incredibly successful mission by the service members, including the pilots at Whiteman. we still don't know, and we won't for a while, the complete and final intelligence review of what was destroyed, how set back the program is. Being set back years is great. Being set back forever, even better. What information are you still waiting to hear?
Well, I think you're right. I mean, we're going to continue to monitor. The good thing here is, Jake, is that the conventional weapons of the Iranians have been completely wiped out. The Israelis control all of that airspace. So any concerns about anything that might happen in the short term, that's just not probably realistic because the Iranians have been totally wiped out from the air. They were surprised by this, but the Israelis sort of pressed air dominance, and they still have it. So the Iranians, I think it's one of the reasons why they were so willing to enter into the ceasefire and hopefully into some fruitful discussions here to have a long-standing peace. And I also think it's worth mentioning, Jake, in President Trump's first term, you had the Abraham Accords. This, of course, sets the stage maybe for the march of a second round of those Abraham Accords. So, look, yes, we got to hold on to all of this, but the ingredients are all there, hopefully, for something very positive long-term.
Let's turn to the big Trump agenda bill, the domestic policy bill and legislation. You acknowledged earlier today that Republicans are going to take another swing at writing the language into the bill that the Senate parliamentarian would accept. Obviously, we talked about earlier how some of the language involving Medicaid right now, she said, cannot be used under the Senate rules that Republicans want to use to require just a simple majority vote. That will push back the timeline, of course. Do you think July 4th, having this on the president's desk by July 4th, is still realistic?
I do. I don't think that whatever happens in the next day or so with a redrafting of language will push us beyond the sort of the weekend window. We're all committed to being here over the weekend, whether that's Saturday or Sunday, which still gives the House time to be...
Look, Iran has to go forward with what they said because with the nuclear weapons, because right now they cannot go backwards. They've gone too far now. They're bombing your nuclear sites. This tells you that you need a nuclear weapon. Are they doing this to Russia? Are they doing this to China? No. They only do it to countries who don't have what? Nuclear weapons. They're not doing that to Pakistan or India. Yeah, I mean, I'm
be able to act, and we're committed. I mean, we're still working through, individual items, but we're getting very close because everybody's committed to delivering on President Trump's, campaign promises: no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, making sure those tax cuts are extended. That.
Yeah. So he's starting to talk about other things. Just the 23rd. Oh, that's all. Is that all they're gonna show? Is that the only stuff they got? With everything that's going on, they're just showing reruns.
At exactly 17:23 on June 5th, 2025, an Israeli F-16I pilot received the three-word message that would shatter the evening calm of Eid al-Adha. Time to go. Within minutes, 4 of Israel's most advanced fighter jets would deliver the most brazen escalation yet: precision strikes to Beirut's densely populated suburbs on the eve of Islam's holiest celebration.
What?
The pilot had been strapped into his cockpit for 12 minutes. The Pratt & Whitney F-100 engine idling as ground crews completed final weapons checks. Beneath each wing hung 2 Rafael Spice 2000 guided bombs, 4,000 pounds of precision munitions that could thread through a specific window from 60 kilometers away.
Wow.
But tonight's mission would require something far more dangerous than long-range precision. They'd have to get close enough to see their targets burn tonight. The F-16I Safa was the only choice for the urban strikes. These single-engine, multi-role fighters excel at the kind of precision work Beirut's dense neighborhoods demand. Their superior agility allows rapid target transitions in cluttered airspace. More importantly, the F-16I's fuel efficiency permits their extended loiter time, critical when you need to hold for 60 minutes while civilians evacuate. At 1724, the formation leader advances the throttles. The F-100 PW-229 engine responded instantly, generating over 29,000 pounds of thrust. Despite having the massive payload, the heavily loaded F-16I accelerates down Ramat David's runway at 165 knots. His wingman follows 10 seconds later, then the second pair at identical intervals. By 1726, all 4 jets are airborne, climbing through 10,000 feet in a precisely staggered formation. The mission profile demands surgical timing. 8 targets are spread across Beirut's southern suburbs, Hadath, Heret Harik, and Bourj Abarajane, plus 2 more in South Lebanon. Each aircraft carries enough ordnance for 2 targets, meaning 0 margin for error. Miss 1 release window, abort 1 run, and the entire strike package unravels. By 1742, exactly 60 minutes before the first bomb falls, Israeli military spokesman Avicii Adrei begins posting on social media. These are not encrypted military channels or diplomatic back channels, but on Twitter and Telegram. The warnings include satellite photos with red circles around specific buildings, telling anyone there that those buildings will be Beirut's latest parking lots in the next hour. This isn't psychological war.
Okay, all right.
Military channels or diplomatic.
So they have intel. They have intel technology. They're seeing, they're reading, they're centering a lot of radiation, a lot of electricity being used in the area. So then they'll just bomb it because they say that's a lot of stuff. Like when you're using too much power, the helicopters know, because they're using their what's it called, thermal. So it says, oh, there's people in there because we're getting a lot of red, because your body creates a lot of energy to stay alive. So while your heart is beating and your blood is warm, you're created energy. So those thermal readers can read you. And they could read energy also. If you have something that the fan is running, it can read that. It's creating energy. So these thermals read. We're gonna look into it. And they basically, if they're using their drones and they say, oh, this is a hot spot, we see a lot of energy coming from here, they're gonna go down there, check it out. They don't like what they see or hear, or they can't identify what they're seeing, they blow it up. And this is what's going on right now. This is direct violation of
diplomatic back channels, but on Twitter and Telegram. The warnings include satellite photos with red circles around specific buildings, telling anyone there that those buildings will be Beirut's latest parking lots in the next hour.
This is not
This
right.
isn't psychological warfare. It's legal compliance with a tactical twist. International law suggests warning civilians when feasible, and Israel documents every warning for potential future tribunals. But those 60 minutes create predictable patterns that military planners exploit. Traffic flows become rivers of intelligence. Which buildings empty immediately? Which see frantic vehicle loading? Which remain suspiciously calm? All of this information is valuable. The pilots stay in a holding pattern at 28,000 feet, monitoring encrypted tactical frequencies as intelligence updates flow from reconnaissance assets. Drone footage shows the evacuation in real time, cars fleeing certain buildings while others remain untouched, inadvertently confirming Israeli targeting intelligence. Now, all they have to do is wait 60 minutes before dropping one of Israel's most potent weapons. The Rafael Spice 2000 you see hanging from each F-16I's wing represents the convergence of 3 technological revolutions in one 2,000-pound package. At $200,000 per unit, these bombs cost about as much as a G-Wagon. But unlike Mercedes-Benz, the military isn't paying for a brand name. They're paying for what lies inside these bombs. Traditional guided bombs rely on GPS. Spoof the coordinates, and that expensive bomb can't hit the right side of a barn. But the Spice 2000 is not your normal bomb. Its primary navigation uses GPS, sure, but that's just the beginning. Inside the nose section, 2 more guidance systems work flawlessly, each backing up the others. The inertial navigation system uses ring laser gyroscopes spinning at 400 Hertz, precisely measuring rotation that makes Rolex look like a Temu watch. 3 accelerometers track every movement in 3 dimensions, calculating position based on the fundamental laws of physics. No outside signals are needed. Even if every GPS satellite suddenly vanished, the INS alone can put the bomb within 30 meters of its target. But the next system is where Israeli engineering gets scary. The electro-optical scene matching technology turns the bomb into a robot with perfect memory. During each mission planning, operators upload high-resolution satellite imagery of the target area, every building, every street corner, and every distinctive feature within a square kilometer. As the bomb falls, its nose camera shoots 60 frames per second, comparing what it sees to what it remembers. The processing power required is staggering. The Spice's computer runs image recognition algorithms that would have required a supercomputer in the 1990s. Edge detection identifies building outlines. Pattern matching locates specific architectural features. Contrast analysis distinguishes targets from backgrounds, all while falling at 300 meters per second. And unfortunately for these bad guys, their time is up. At 1800 hours, the holding pattern breaks. 4 F-16Is bank east in perfect synchronicity, descending through 20,000 feet as they accelerate towards the Lebanese coast. Beneath their bellies, the Rafael Sky Shield electronic warfare pods wait from standby mode. Their threat libraries contain the electronic fingerprint of every radar system from here to Tehran. The Lebanese Air Defense Network, a hodgepodge of Soviet-era systems, some French units, and recent Chinese imports light up like a Christmas tree. The aging P-18 spoon rest radar at Tyre pushes out its distinctive VHF pulses. A more modern Chinese JY-27A south of Sidon joins the chorus. Multiple fire control radars probe the sky, searching for something to lock onto. What they find defies physics. The lead F-16I appears to be at 15,000 feet, heading north at 350 knots. Simultaneously, it's at 25,000 feet, heading east at 550 knots. A third return shows it diving through 5,000 feet. The Sky Shield pod isn't just jamming, it's lying with mathematical precision. Inside each pod, the digital radio frequency memory system performs electronic alchemy. When the P-18 radar pulse hits 150 megahertz, the DRFM captures it perfectly. Frequency, pulse, width, modulation, everything. Then, it retransmits multiple versions, each slightly modified. Delay 1 by 3 microseconds, and the radar thinks you're 900 meters farther away. Shift the frequency by 200 hertz, and your speed looks wrong. Combine multiple false returns, and the operator's screen looks like a 4-year-old's drawing. As this continues, the pilots monitor their radar warning receivers as new threats appear. An SA-6 straight flush radar paints them from the Bekaa Valley, that distinctive high-pitched warble in their headsets. The Sky Shield automatically categorizes it as a priority threat, allocating more jamming power to its frequency band. The RWR symbol changes from solid to dashed, lock broken. But the real genius happens when all 4 aircraft coordinate their jamming. The formation leader's aircraft designates itself as the Lighthouse, broadcasting powerful jamming on all major threat frequencies. The other 3 run their pods in Firefly mode, quick bursts of jamming that appear and disappear randomly. To the Lebanese radar operators, it looks like an entire squadron is out there, maybe 2. Ground controllers at Beirut Air Traffic Control watch their scopes in confusion. Civilian transponders show normally. A Middle East Airlines flight climbing out on schedule. But military primary returns dance across their screens in impossible patterns. Ghost formations appear from nowhere, streak across the scope at Mach 2, and then vanish. Real contacts hide among false ones like needles in electronic haystacks. At 1812, the F-161s reach the release point. The Lebanese capital spreads below them. The formation splits into 2 elements. The lead and his wingman vector toward Hadath and Heret Herek. The second pair angles south toward Burj al-Barajane. Each pilot runs through the same checklist. Master arm on. Weapons selected. Release mode confirmed. The lightning targeting pods slew to their first targets. Infrared sensors cutting through the evening haze like it doesn't exist. In their headsets, the pilots hear Lebanese search radars growing more frantic. Pulse repetition frequencies increase. Scatter patterns tighten. Someone down there knows something's wrong, but can't pinpoint what. The electronic bubble holds, keeping the F-16s hidden in plain sight, even as they prepare to kick off the holiday festivities. By 1818, lead pilot pickles his first Spice 2000. The Bombay acoustic sensor registers separation, a clean release. Immediately, the F-16 lurches upward, suddenly 2,000 pounds lighter. The pilot doesn't watch it fall. He's already banking toward the second target. The first Spice deploys its wing kit 2 seconds later, transforming from a falling chunk of metal into a guided projectile. Its GPS receiver locks onto 5 satellites, excellent geometry for a precise fix. The initial solution puts it 2.3 kilometers from the target with 43 seconds to impact. The flight control computer calculates an intercept trajectory, 15-degree left turn, 8-degree glide scope. 5 seconds later, the wingman releases over Hared Harek. His target, a nondescript 5-story commercial building that Israeli intelligence says houses drone assembly workshops in its basement. The bomb's camera activates early, catching the evacuation chaos in thermal clarity. Cars clog every street. Hundreds of heat signatures flee on foot. Building itself glows warmer than its neighbors, evidence of underground activity generating heat. By 1818 and 15 seconds, 4 bombs are in flight, each pursuing its own target with robotic determination. The formation lead's second weapon aims for a Hezbollah logistics node disguised as an auto parts store. The wingman's second release targets what appears to be a community center, but allegedly conceals communications equipment 3 floors underground. As the bomb descends through 10,000 feet, the camera activates. The familiar Beirut skyline appears. Mosque minarets, apartment blocks, the Mediterranean coastline. The computer matches these features against its memory, calculating precisely where it is. At 5,000 feet, GPS signals start getting sketchy. Lebanese electronic warfare units.
You see how those drones are just gliding in the air waiting for their target?
Probably using Russian supplied systems, pump out false signals to deceive the guidance system. The Spice's computer notices the discrepancy immediately. GPS says it's 500 meters east of where the INS and camera think it is. Without hesitation, it ignores the GPS entirely, trusting its eyes and internal navigation. The terminal phase is where the magic happens. At 1,000 feet, the camera switches to narrow field of view mode, zooming in on the specific building. The algorithm looks for pre-programmed features, that ventilation unit on the northwest corner, the distinctive roof line, and the shape of the adjacent parking lot. When confidence hits 98%, the bomb commits to the final approach. Those fins on the tail can deflect 20 degrees in any direction, making corrections 50 times per second. Too much crosswind from the west, the fins compensate. Thermal updraft from the city, adjusted. The bomb literally flies itself to the target, threading between buildings if necessary. The fuse settings uploaded at Ramat David determine what happens next. There is an impact fuse for surface targets and a delayed fuse for penetration. Tonight, it's all delayed. The bombs need to punch deep before detonating, turning these underground facilities into tombs. Then, just before 1819 local time, the first impact was registered. The Blue 109 penetrator warhead hits the building's roof at 267 meters per second. The hardened steel case, designed initially to pierce aircraft shelters, treats the civilian structure like tissue paper. It punches through the roof slab, barely slowing. The 5th floor, offices by the look of the debris, offers no resistance. 4th floor, 3rd floor, 2nd floor. The warhead finally lodges in the basement ceiling. Then, kaboom. In the confined basement space, the pressure can't dissipate normally. Instead, it reflects off of the concrete walls, doubling and increasing intensity. The floor above, now the ceiling of a pressure chamber, lifts like a cork from a champagne bottle. The second bomb hits a few seconds later, just as the first building collapses. Then the third, then the fourth. Shockwaves from multiple explosions meet and merge, creating complex interference patterns that amplify destruction in some areas while canceling in others. By 1820, southern Beirut looked like a giant had kicked over an anthill. 4 mushroom clouds rise into the evening sky, their stems growing larger from secondary explosions. The pilots don't admire their handiwork. They're already beating feet back home, diving toward the deck as every survivor...
You're bombing another country that has sovereignty and has the right to build military equipment, and you're claiming it's a terrorist organization. Israel is just out of control. Oh well. That's it for today. After seeing that, I'm really upset. I can't believe what's going on out there. It's crazy. Thanks for coming by, guys. It's been nice having you. Come back for some more every night. We're gonna be here, talk about the stuff that's going on, watch some YouTube videos and X and Instagram, and see your topics on that chat. Talk to me on the chat. Hi. You know, we'll be calling in and so forth. I'll send donation to my PayPal right here. You see right here is PayPal. So you go from there. Thanks very much. You guys have a good day. Come back for more.